choose 9mm or 56mm 1.4. My motto is, the more millimeters, the better. If you want an accurate shot, what are you waiting for? The Sigma 56mm. What's going on, people of YouTube? I'm Steven with Purpose Lens Photo and Media, and today we're going to be talking about the 3 reasons why you should buy the Sigma 56mm 1.4. Now, this is the Sony version, which is made for the APS-C bodies, which are the crop frame sensors. You can use this on a full frame sensor camera, but you'll have to go into Super 35 mode. But just so you know, this lens is specifically made for the APS-C bodies. But let's get into the first reason why you should buy this lens. Now, number 1 is going to be the focal length of this lens. Now, again, this lens is 56mm. If you were to put that on a full frame camera, that is equivalent to an 85mm on a full frame camera. Now, what that means is this lens is great for portraits. So if you're going to be doing headshots or even full body shots, this lens is great because it's not going to distort the face and it's going to give you a more natural looking photo or video when you do it. So that makes this lens very good. Now, one thing I will mention about the focal length here is if you're going to be using this lens indoors, it's going to be really difficult. And the reason why is this lens is going to give you a tighter shot. Now, if you're in a really big room, you may not have a problem. But if you're in a smaller room, you're gonna find it difficult to be able to get everything in focus, unless you're shooting like detail shots. If you're going for the detail shots, like with weddings or something like this lens will be perfect for those type shots. So just keep in mind that this lens is really not suited for indoors. Doesn't mean you can't use it indoors, but it's really gonna be tight unless you have the room. So let's move on to part 2, or the second reason why you should buy this lens. So the second reason you should buy this lens is its low light capabilities and performance. Listen, people, this lens is great in low light. With the aperture of 1.4, you are gathering a lot of light in here. Now, the benefits of having the aperture, a wide aperture of 1.4 are a few things. The first thing is if you are into bokeh, this is going to be a dream lens for you. Now, if you don't know what bokeh is, basically what that means is the separation between your foreground and your background. When the background is blurred out and the foreground is in focus, that is bokeh. And if that's what you're looking for, this Sigma 56mm 1.4 at 1.4 is going to give you nice, creamy, as people say, bokeh. I don't know why people say that, but that's what people say. And it gives you that. So just so you know, you have that. The other thing about this lens, if you are a photographer, this would be referred to as a fast lens. And what that means is when you're shooting photos, you are able to use a faster shutter speed to achieve good exposure. Now, the benefits of that are a few things. The first thing is it will eliminate blur. So the longer your shutter is open, the more blur is going to be introduced. Well, because you can speed up your shutter, you're going to be able to get less blur and freeze the action, which equates to sharper photos. Now, the other thing that helps because of this is you can shoot with out pushing your ISO up really high. And what that means is you're not going to get a lot of noise in your picture. The higher you crank your ISO or the gain on your sensor, the more heat it generates, and you start to get all these little speckles, which comes in the form of noise. So being that this lens is a fast lens, it's going to help you cut down on the noise and help you cut down on blurry, shaky photos. So this is a plus for people who shoot photos. Now, I do want to talk about this lens for video users outdoors. I would definitely recommend, even if you're a photographer, I would recommend an ND filter. Now, if you don't know what an ND filter is, basically like a pair of sunglasses. ND just stands for neutral density filter. And basically what it does, it cuts down all the light that's coming in your camera. So if you're using this lens at 1.4 wide open and you're shooting 24 frames per second, 1/50 as your shutter speed, that's going to be a lot of light coming in. Even if you're shooting at ISO 100, that's going to be so much light that it's probably going to be overexposed, even on an overcast day. So I would definitely recommend shooting this lens outside with an ND filter. And what that will allow you to do is you can turn that ring, a variable one you could get, and you're going to be able to turn that ring and it's going to allow you to cut down on the light, and then you can still get your separation, your bokeh and things like that, even in the daylight. And that is what makes your stuff look really good, at least in my opinion. I like that look. Now, if you don't care about that look, then that's one thing. But this lens doesn't go all the way up to f/22. It stops at f/16. So I don't know many people who shoot at f/22, but if you do, just keep that in mind. So again, I would recommend an ND filter. So moving on to point 3 of why you should buy this camera is going to be the price. For everything that you're getting, the crispiness, the fastness of the lens, does that make sense? The fastness, I guess so, the fastness of the lens, and all of the sharpness that you get and its low light abilities, it's only $430. That, in my opinion, is a great price. If you compare that price to lens of equivalent focal lengths on full frame cameras like 85 millimeters, if you're talking about like a Canon or a Sony, you're gonna be paying anywhere from $1,600 all the way up to $2,000. Now, do those lenses offer a little bit more sharpness? Possibly. But for this price, for $430, you cannot beat what you're getting. I'm telling you folks, this lens, you must get this lens. Even if you just rent it to test it out, when you rent it, you're gonna wanna buy it, trust me. So the pricing on this lens is great. Now, again, it's $430. You can pick this up on Adorama, B&H, and even Amazon. And a lot of times they'll throw in little deals where you'll get memory cards and things like that for free. But right now the lens is $430. I think it's been pretty solid at this price for a while. But just so you guys know, this is a great price for this lens. Now, moving on to the build quality of this lens, it looks like this lens is made out of a combination of metal and plastic. One of the things I really love about this lens is the focus ring. As you can see here, it turns really smoothly, and you get a really nice feel for what's going on. It doesn't feel cheaply made, and it doesn't feel like it's gonna tear up even if you drop it. Now, I don't want to drop this lens. I've never dropped a lens. I'm praying to God, Lord, please, I hope I never do. But this lens is built really well. It also has weather sealing on it. Now, I'm not saying take this thing out in a rainstorm or tsunami, but if you're in a position to where there's some light mist or fog or something like that, this lens should be okay because it is weather sealed. So that is a plus. Now, I just want to talk about one of the downsides of this lens, and maybe it's not even a downside, but one of the things it lacks, and that is image stabilization. Now, if you have a camera that has IBIS or in-body image stabilization, then you'll be able to get away with using this lens without a problem. But if you have a camera that doesn't have IBIS, such as like the A6400, you're definitely going to want to use this lens if you're going to be shooting video with a gimbal. That's going to give you great smooth shots, but without that, you may have a hard time trying to hold it steady unless you have rock steady hands. And if you do in that case, then you have nothing to worry about. Now, if you're going to be shooting photography, you don't really have to worry about that as much because your shutter speed and things like that are going to help compensate, and you're only taking a photo for a split second, so you can hold still for a split second. So this is mainly for video users. Just keep in mind that you may want to use this with a stabilizer. But other than that, I can't really think of any downsides to this lens. Again, it's got great quality, great color, and it's just a good all-around lens as far as portraits goes, and you can use it for video as well. And it only costs $430. So folks, don't be scared. Don't do a lot of research. Don't try to figure out if you should buy it. It's only $430. Just buy the lens, pull the trigger, and get it. And I guarantee you, you will be happy that you made the decision. So if you are new to this channel and you've never seen it before, feel free to like, share, subscribe, and go ahead and join the team. Thank you for everybody who's been supportive and those who are joining. There's much more to come. Gear reviews, how-tos, tutorials, all that kind of stuff. And I've been reading the comments below and I see what you guys want me to talk about. So those things will be coming. So again, thank you guys for watching. But other than that, I'll talk to y'all later. I'm out. Peace.